What's up guys, Matt the Riff Master here today. Mistakes that you may be making with a valve amp. Guys, before we start this video, I'm just going to do a random subscriber shootout because that's awesome, right? Yeah. And we're going for David F. Now, a few things about David F. He's been around for a while. He loves his Metallica. He pops up now and then, but he's still here, and I appreciate that. David, you rock. So show some love for David F in the comments. So guys, yesterday I have 5 mistakes that I think potentially a lot of you could be making with valve amps. Some of them I've made myself because, you know, we all start somewhere. And so I'm going to bring these to you and hopefully stop you from making the same mistakes that this dumb piece of shit made. So the first one is covering up the air vents. Now, if you know or if you don't know, valve amps heat up and they get really hot inside because they've got glass tubes, valves that heat up and get hot. So a lot of valve amps, for example, this series one here, the whole of the front panel is open. It's got this kind of see-through grille. It's open, so it's got a lot of airflow. It's also got some airflow on the top as well, but I obviously have this amp on top of here, but it's not a big deal me covering this up because it's got such big airflow during the front and it doesn't get overheated and then completely go fuck. Something like the HT5 here, it's got the front grate is completely blocked off, so there's no airflow here at all. The only airflow for the HT5 is on the back. It's got a see-through grille similar to this one. On the back, I'll give you a close-up of this one with the valves when they're on and lit up, all that cool stuff. So covering the air vents up is not good because it will overheat and cause problems and shit, you might just end up with a completely unwanted fire. So this one I used to make quite a lot back when I had my HT100 metal amp head. Someone pointed out in the comments quite a few times, and that's when I kind of stopped doing that. And that's when you switch it on. Firstly, you want to put the power switch down, right? So you get a power and a standby typically with valve amps. So you want to put your power switch first. Leave the standby on, right? Let the amp warm up a bit. Because that's one important thing. This is a bonus one. Let your valve amp warm up. That's what you have to do. You can't play it straight away because that's just not what you do. So power switch on first. Let it warm up for about 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. And then hit the standby. And then when you're switching the amp off, switch it to standby and then switch the power off. Like I said, people pulled me up on that in the comments years back. So I read it and I thought, shit, well, there we go. So I started doing it the correct way. And now you can too. So as I said, it is always important to let your valve amp warm up. It's different to solid state. You could plug a solid state in and turn it on and the sound's there straight away. A valve amp, it has to heat up and warm up before it can get going. If you plug into your valve amp and you turn it on straight away and you start playing, nothing will come through and then it will gradually start to fade in because the valves are warming up. So always let it warm up for about 15-20 minutes, 10-15-20 minutes I say, just to get the valves nice and warm and ready to rock. So another one that I've stressed about with a lot of people who have talked about getting valve amp and considered valve amps. Typically, valve amps need to be played loud. You can't have a valve amp at low volume because it sounds farty and just not very good. Benefits of, for example, if you get low valve amps, right? So, for example, the Blackstar HT1R, it's a 1 watt valve amp combo, right? It's 1 watt. I've had this amp before. It's 1 watt. It's got valves in it. And being only 1 watt, you crank that thing up, like it's loud and it sounds good, right? But if you've got an amp, say, that's a 100 watt valve head, you cannot play it at a low volume because it's just not going to sound good, okay? So it's not kind of like a bedroom level kind of amp that you might want to practice with during the night because it's not going to sound good. I'd recommend getting like a nice little solid state amp for your practice. I got the Blackstar IDTVP 15 watt for my little practice because at low volume it still sounds great. So if you're considering a valve amp, especially a big boy here like a 100 watt head or even a 50 watt, bear in mind that it's always best to play it at high volume because it just fucking sounds good. Get those valves roaring, get them going. It's just going to sound a lot more better than if it's on low volume and it sounds like a fart in a mattress. Right, so the next one we're moving on to is changing valves. It's quite a big thing that's kind of asked, in the industry, is like, oh, can I just swap the valves out myself? Because valves eventually will need to be changed. And it's a lot more complicated than just unplugging one and plugging another one in. There's a lot more to it. If the amp is kind of like one of the amps that bias itself, I'm not going to go into bias because I don't even know what the fuck it means. But when you put new valves in an amp, it has to be biased and set up again correctly. Okay, so if you are thinking, oh, my valves are done, I need to swap them out, you can't buy new ones and just pull them out and stick them back in. Take it to a professional, okay? Take it to a professional, get it done right, because you don't want to end up completely ballsing your amp up and ending up with an amp that's just completely fooked. So the final thing that I'm going to touch on with valve amps, and it's pretty self-explanatory, pretty basic, and that is be careful with the fucking thing. If you think about it, right, these valve amps have got glass in them, right? What happens if you drop glass? Smashes, right? What happens if you drop an amp that's got glass in? The glass is going to smash, right? You don't want that. Back in the day when I purchased my first Series 1 by Blackstar, it was delivered and the absolute shitbrain, toss piece, delivered it and dumped it on its side, outside, in the rain. Tip. So if you've got a valve amp, whether it's a 100 watt, a 50 watt, a 5 watt, a 1 watt, be careful with it because it does have glass in. And if those tubes break, you just got problems, and nobody wants problems. You just want to plug in and fucking play. So guys, there's 5. I think it was 5. It was definitely 5. I'm pretty sure it was 5. 5 mistakes that people may have been making with valve amps, and 5 things to try and avoid if you are considering stepping into the valve amp world. It's definitely fucking a great thing to do. I remember when I first did it, I went from the 100 watt solid state TVP from Blackstar. Then I got into my first valve head was the HT Metal 100, which was an absolute beast. And obviously now I've got the Series 1, I've got HT5. And for me, I love valve amps. There's something so real and raw and badass about them. I do like solid state, especially the TVP by Blackstar. And the Silverline series as well that they've brought out. Their solid states are just on point. It's got serious tone consistently all the way through. It sounds good, as good as valve amp, I would say, and it just balls to the walls. But for me, I really do dig playing through valves. That's just why I love my Series 1, because it's 6L6 loaded full of doom. So guys, if any of you have made any of these mistakes, be honest, let it know down below. I've made these mistakes. We make mistakes and we learn from them. That's how we become fucking cool and look back and think, wow, you stupid prick. If you know any other mistakes people commonly make with valve amps that you've experienced or you've done yourself that I've not mentioned, put it down in the comments below. And if you're new, listen closely. Hit the subscribe button. Come hang out in the Chapel of Chug. Follow me on Instagram. Huge shout out to my channel members. If you want to become a channel member and get access to loads of cool behind the scenes stuff, such as this, hit that join button. Come join the members VIP section. Come hang out, see something a little bit different, support the channel, all that cool stuff. As always, guys, rock out, be awesome, and fuck microphone. And I will see you in the next one. See ya. Digga 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 digga.